I'm Tommy Plunkett, I'm 55 years old, and I have served 35 years and some months on a life without parole sentence. December the 19th, 1990. I was at home, a friend came by. We drank, we smoked, we hung out. He decided to go get more beer. I rode with him. He talked about this guy that he was in a drug deal with. And so, you know, I rode with him, drunk, stupid, ended up on the road, fight broke out, got more serious than I knew was possible. A few days later, I'm arrested. Can't really describe that. Just know that I knew that life had changed dramatically and it was never going to be what I knew. My attorney kept telling me, you got to plead guilty. I said, but you know, I didn't kill anybody. He said, but you got to plead guilty. When I came back with life without parole, and I said, man, this stuff doesn't work. And at that point, God became my enemy. For the first time in my life, I really believed in God, but he was my enemy. I hated him. And you had the prison preachers, and they don't come to my cell. And I had the inmate preachers, like, man, don't come to my cell. Then I started getting tattoos, and I started getting witches and devils, and I was just angry at God. And I didn't want to hear anything about God. And everything was battleship gray, and everything was dim and dark. And that's what started my prison journey, was hopelessness, despair. And then one day in hopelessness and despair, I remember coming to a church service, a chapel service. And I went back to the cell and asked my cell partner, I said, this God of yours, does he really do miracles? He's like, yeah. I said, even when you're wrong? He said, yeah. And I remember getting down in that cold, hard, dirty concrete floor and saying, Jesus, if you're really real, I need you to reveal yourself to me. And he did. And from that time until now has just been the best years of my life. And all I know is that I was a prisoner long before I ever came to prison, because I was hopeless even before I got locked up. And that's the thing that God had to free me from, was hopelessness, despair. Is that no matter where you are, I've loved you all along. Can you love me? And finally, to get into the place in my life, I'm like, yeah, how can I not? My first real program was New Outlook Therapeutic Community. Dealt with everything from pride to image to drug addiction. And it was very tough. It had a very hard standard. That was very paramount in me growing and maturing as a young man. There had to be a standard. Every program is a self-help program. Do the work. Find out why did I commit a crime? What led to that? Why is there any of that still in me? And I need to get rid of that. That's the stuff, and I think that's what affects the recidivism rate. I think that's what affects the crime rate. And getting my GED was a valuable thing. Furthering my education, the chapel programs, man, the Highway of Hope program that, you know, the Lord has blessed me to help facilitate is probably the single most powerful and impactful program, because we deal with young men. And problem in society is too many young men are dealt with after their dysfunction instead of their function.
Heavenly Father, I pray for freedom, dear Lord. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this meal that you provided us today, dear Lord. And I just ask that you continue to guide us, guide our footsteps, guide our speeches, guide our mouth, guide our family and our loved ones. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Amen.
Man, I ended up getting a guitar that was broke, and we glued it and tied it with bed sheets. And all I could play was 3 chords, but I didn't know what those chords were. What are you playing? This and this and this. And then we had an opportunity to make a CD and record some songs and give the money away. And then next thing I know, there's like 500 songs. And then there's a whole praise team, and then there's a rapper, and just, you know, at times just I don't know, just, it's like it's not real, but it is real. And having purpose and having a life. And then, our new chaplain, God sent us a warden who came in here with a vision. And that was where it started, that this is really serious. This is really taking place and people's lives are being changed. And in prison or out of prison, the mission's the same: glorify God and build a kingdom. Whether you got a hammer, whether you got a saw, whether you got some wood, bring it and let's build the kingdom. And so God's plans and purposes aren't thwarted. They're just.
Incredible.
2.5 years ago, I went back to court, and we filed under this thing, and going back, and there were 200-300 people showed up on my behalf, everything from gang members to doctors to lawyers and I think the judge wanted to help me. The DA told me that he hoped this worked out for me, but he still had to oppose because the law said. And I understand. I remember when the judge turned me down, my heart was broke. But then I got another call to ministry because I was living in the honor dorm. And so it's like now the Lord's like, it's time to go to war. Not to get out of prison, but devil, if you're going to hinder me from getting out, I'm fixing to convert your people. I'm finna to preach the gospel to them. It's been a good ride. And so I'm grateful that my end is far better than my beginning. And if it took this to ensure that I didn't go to hell, it was worth every bit of it.